So we are the Nostrum Group. We provide a UK digital loan processing platform on a SaaS basis. Very importantly, the solution is compliant with overarching legislation in the UK, the Consumer Credit Act, or CCA, which is the implementation of which is overseen by the Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA, similar to the CFPB here in the US. We cover the full loan life cycle from end-to-end origination through disbursement, funds disbursement, payments and collections. We like to think that our digital strategy is helping us to deliver our corporate mission statement, which is to make lending cheaper, faster and safer, not only for UK lenders but also consumers. We're also very proud to be Finovate alumni, having demonstrated at Finovate in London for the last 3 years running. So our solution is founded on a software package, which is ours, and is used by some very large and prominent clients in the UK. Volumes are high, and 95% of the volumes are executed digitally, meaning e-signature of contract documentation by consumers online, or via other forms of electronic signature in retail stores or motor dealerships. We can distribute funds quickly and to consumers via the UK Faster Payments Network, which is a sort of consumer-oriented UK interbank transfer mechanism, and typically within 2 hours. So our clients operate in these sectors, although it has to be said predominantly in the top row, so unsecured retail point-of-sale, motor point-of-sale finance. We're seeing an awful lot of activity in these sectors, with new entrants coming to the market all the time, and existing operators in these sectors upgrading their propositions to keep pace with digital evolution. So let's have a little look at what's happening in the UK consumer lending sector generally. This is an extract from a very recently published Mintel report looking at UK consumer finance, and they're predicting, typically quite accurately, a recovery to pre-2008 cumulative loan advance volumes of £50 billion per annum by the year 2020. So there's plenty of room for growth. The same report informs us, I think, of what we already know, which is that consumers in the UK are increasingly comfortable with transacting digitally and online. As you can see, for completeness, the 24% that's missing is telephone, other, or can't remember. So, as for disruption in the UK fintech sector, this is an extract from a very recent report from Silicon Valley Bank, having canvassed opinion from fintech founders and investors. And predominantly, they're seeing innovation is going to be in the infrastructure sector. Blockchain and API, we're looking forward to demonstrating our blockchain solution that fits one segment of what we do at Finovate next year, if we're invited to do so. But we're here today to look at the Nostrum API, over which we publish our Learn Engine services. And in the context today of a very interesting retail point-of-sale case study, which I'm going to hand over to Tom to tell us all about.
Thanks, Alex. So in the UK, our case study today, focuses on the role that consumer lending plays in the UK telecoms marketplace. In the UK, typically, both the handset and airtime are sold under the same agreement, and normally for a term of around 24 months. The issue with that is, with new handsets coming out all the time, that if a customer wants to settle, they have to pay both the remaining airtime and the handset, which is obviously quite a bit of money. So our client, and who the case study focuses on, is it's a large telecoms provider in the UK, where they've actually separated out the handset into a Consumer Credit Act agreement, and the airtime is on the existing rolling monthly contract. What this allows the customer to do is pay off just the handset and use the flexibility that they get under the CCA agreement, which basically means they can fully settle or partially settle, reducing either the term or installment at any point, and withdraw early on in the agreement. So they've been with us now for around about 18 months, and in that time they've sold or created 500,000 loans, or over 500,000 loans, or over 500,000 handsets. And that's growing at around about 20,000 new handset sales a month. And it's now their primary sales mechanism. So they typically use this as a first choice. So we're going to take a very, very quick look at one of the three channels. This one is a retail one. It's either on an iPad or on a retail POS device. It's very simple. They select the device, the deal, and then they provide us with some information, the sort of customer and application information, and then they sign an agreement. I won't show you too much more of that. The other two channels that they work, so it's a three-channel solution, is online and telesales. These are platforms that already exist. They already had capability in this space. So through our REST API, they've augmented their existing website with handset or CCA agreement, so that they can sell, create, originate new loans in a very frictionless way, and they do that exclusively through our REST API. Our portal and self-care, customer self-service is all delivered through that too. So now we're going to take a closer look at the REST API, and I'm going to hand over to Simon to do that.
Okay, thanks, Tom. As Tom said, we have a REST API. We have a very richly functional platform, but we are predominantly rolling out a lot of our functionality through our REST API. REST has been the integration of choice for most of our clients who have mobile handsets or sort of client web-based applications, so they want to consume REST APIs, and we want to make it easy for them to integrate with us. So we've spent a lot of time creating an API which is self-documenting, which I'll move on to. So this is showing you the API help page. This is getting started. So what we want is to make it as straightforward as possible for integrators to find out how they can integrate with the Nostrum platform. So we've got a self-documenting, auto-generated docs with some additional information on here to allow people to get started really quickly. So diving straight in to give you a bit of a demonstration of what's on there. We've got an overview page. This should be pretty familiar to anybody who's consumed a REST API in the past. It's got information there on the type of errors that you might experience, how we deal with JSON payloads, how you can change the response type, and a little bit around how we expect you to authenticate to the API as well. Through all the API help pages, we've got a full reference. On this overview page, you can quite easily see how you might post or get for different resources, and all those verbs are clearly marked. And this, going through here, we're just scrolling through and it's showing you all the different types of integration points. We're going to jump into the customer. Now, Tom showed you a case study. Part of that loan origination journey, really, the beginning part is that we need to create a customer. To do that, we've got a customer endpoint, and here we can see in the API help all the documentation to show you how you would create that customer and the type of fields we would expect, a description for each one, the data type, and here's some great samples in both XML and in JSON to help you get started with that as well. And the responses that you're likely to get back, we've got contextual links to help integrators as well navigate through the API as well. Now we're going to jump back in to look at the model for this customer creation. And as I said before, we've got the name of each one of the fields there. We've got a description of the endpoint. We've got the data type. And we've also got a bit about validating each one of those data types as well. And we've got a concept that we call reference data, which is like the allowable fields that we expect to come through the API. And these are all configurable in our back-end system as well. So if we jump back a little, here we can see what we like about APIs that we integrate with ourselves is the ability to test them, to find out how they work. So we've got test pages for each one of our API endpoints. You can provide an authentication token, and you can send a request through and you get some sample responses back. This is how we find it easier to integrate when we're the integrators, and so we think that other people probably find it easy to integrate with us this way too. As you can see from the API reference page here, this describes all the different ways that we currently have. These mainly focus on the loan origination journey from Tom's case study earlier, and servicing. And over time, we're increasing the functionality that we're exposing through our REST API. And one of the things that we're quite keen on as well is that, especially through when people are testing the API, they want to know that our system is fully functional. So we provide things like an operational status link as well, which tells you, hopefully, that everything has got full status and is working. OK. Now we're going to quickly look at how we might integrate with the API. And we've got some examples here. The first thing we need to do is authenticate. Here we're bringing back a token. It's a straightforward bearer token that we're going to use in all the subsequent requests that we make against the API. The next is, following on the loan origination journey, we're creating a customer. You can see that a customer response has come back, a JSON payload there, and it's got the contextual links. And then we're going to add an address within our system for this customer. And we've done that again with a post, and that's a standard UK address format. And then we're adding a bank account, the bank account details for this customer. And again, this is a standard UK bank format as well, although we can support others. And here, then, we are creating the actual application itself. This will have information about how much the customer wants to borrow, the product that they're borrowing against, and rates and terms, whether it's the API, whether it's the APR or another type of rate. And then we're linking the bank account that we created earlier to this specific application for this customer. And you can see that's just using a put request to do that. And then for brevity, in this example, we are jumping straight to accept this customer. We can deal with underwriting in our back-end solution, but we're assuming underwriting has happened off system. And now we're looking, because the deal has been accepted, this has created a document in the back-end system. It's a CCA document. We're going to then retrieve that CCA document through the API, and this will bring back like a binary response, which is the PDF. And then we can subsequently sign that document. Now, in the signing call that we're making here, we're actually supplying an image, which is the image of the customer's signature that we're going to put into this document. But in the back-end system as well, we're applying some other information to the document and a digital certificate. So the agreement is actually, there's evidence of the signing, and we have a tamper-evident document stored as a PDF in our back-end system. And then finally, the signing of that document has pushed the agreement through the workflow in the loan engine. And the agreement is now in a status that we call ready for live. This means it's sat in our activation queue. It's waiting to be picked up and activated. The activation process is setting all the transactions and everything in the back end, and setting funds for disbursement and everything else. And finally, we can ping the application status endpoint to see, and here we can see the loan has been made active. So that loan is now active in our system. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Simon. So that's it. Really, from Nostrum, we've had a look at our compliance solution and service that we're offering in the UK, and it's being used significantly. Tom has talked us through the interesting retail handset finance use case, and finally Simon's taken us through the web API help text and shown us how it actually works. So we have been Nostrum Group. Thank you very much indeed for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you at our booth outside. Thank you. Thank you.